Hello, 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 everyone. Happy GDP Thursday. How's everyone doing? Good morning, Patrick. On two locations on YouTube and Rumble. Good morning, John. Good morning, Mark. Good morning, Royal Palms. Good morning, David. Where is everyone? We had a busy day today. Get in the chat, people. Good morning, OD Green. I guess Sterling is still on. Sterling's still on jury duty. So you're reliant on me for the data? Oh no. Oh no. Good morning, Rusty, over on Rumble too. All right. Well, we're waiting for more people to filter in. Please jump in the chat, everyone. Please jump in. All right. We got a lot of stuff out this morning. We had GDP, the final revision for Q2, coming in at 3.8. We had durable goods bouncing from minus 2.7 to positive 2.9. Consensus was still a contraction. What else? We had jobless claims dropping. Prior was 232. Consensus was 235, 218. What else do we have? This is the course PCE looking backwards. Consensus was 2.5, still at 2.6. I mean, we're stuck in this twos for inflation, cutting rates. PCE coming in at 2.1. That's the headline. What else? Real consumer spending still at 2.5. We're just continuing jobless claims dropping 1926 from 1928. So it's still high, but it's dropping back down a bit. So, okay, cutting rates and numbers are still strong, but we will see what happens. We got the August PCE numbers tomorrow, remember? Good morning, Andrea. Hello, Charles. Good morning, Heinrich. Thank you for tuning in. All right, we have existing home sales coming up. We have Bowman speaking at 10 a.m. Eastern. We have the Kansas City Fed Composite Manufacturing Index at 11 Eastern. We have Barr speaking. We have Daly speaking. All right, so that's where we sit this morning. The heat map, market selling off a little based off, we maybe can't cut rates as quickly. So the market sells off. Remember, rates have a lag. This market's insane. You have IBM up, though. All the other mega caps, IBM's not a mega cap, by the way. All the other mega caps, except for Apple's up 19 basis points. Consumer defensive, the rotating consumer defensives. Remember, Costco is after the close today. What's this? Tesla's actually pulling back. We'll see if they can juice it later. Again, I cannot go short Tesla unless we have a major topping pattern or unless Elon regains the richest man in the world, because maybe that'll wind down the weird option stuff that's going on. So, not saying anything. Maybe I'll get banned off of X again for saying that. But something you go. I mean, Elon's got to be richest again by juicing the stock. Well, can't say that either. Consumer defensive is the only thing that's positive, so the rotation into risk off, although we'll see if that lasts through the whole day. Let's just refresh this. Let's refresh the rate cut probability since it's after the top of the hour. And see, it's dropped down to 81% only, but still high. So this has still two priced in and then a longer pause, but we'll see how that lasts. Fear and greed, still technically in greed mode. That'll probably change after the open a bit. We've dropped, again, 39.79 in the dirt cheap market, according to Schiller PE. KB was a beat yesterday, but still, home builders still down a bit. Costco after the close. We had Accenture and CarMax and BlackBerry this morning, but really it's Costco this afternoon. And then remember, August PCE tomorrow morning, so we're not out of the woods yet. Good morning, Tony. All right. So we're finally getting that pull back into the daily rotation zone. Finally, we still technically have, it was filled once, but we still have the key support being the gap fill again, closer to the lower end of the rotation zone. Breaking below some minor support levels here. We closed below the yesterday with the close below the 4-hour rotation zone, and then we bounced back to it and then sold off again. So I'm still watching. Now, we could start setting up for an exhaustion move between today and tomorrow morning. And then I'm going to watch the next bounce. The secondary reaction is going to be very, very key for the next few weeks. The secondary reaction. All right. Minor bounce is about 66.65 is key resistance. Major bounce is about 66.85 to 66.90 for resistance. If we do get up to those levels, I'll watch for a pullback and then a potential long setup if we don't take out, if we do make lows and then don't take them out, or if we make a double bottom pattern. Remember, we're still in the daily rotation zone. All right. That does not mean I'm going to be overly aggressive today to the upside. I'd really love to see this gap fill closer to the bottom of the daily rotation zone and then set up either Friday or Monday for a potential bounce trade. And that's going to tell us a lot. Okay? Because we will get the bounce trade. We're not going straight down. Also, remember, we're still overextended from the weekly. So, it just depends how significant this bounce is. So where you got it, still people, well, why aren't you? You know, there's been some shorts. There were some shorts yesterday on momentum. Okay, if you want to watch something earlier with that 1 hour rotation zone, again, 66.85, this will keep coming down. If we do start closing above the 1 hour rotation zone, then I'll watch for that minor pullback. But, okay, but, again, there are a couple short-term trades, but nothing I'd even hold overnight at this point. Because we're still not, yes, can we pull back more? Sure. Prepared for that. Again, today on a closing basis, you're going to have to update this if we push lower after the open, but I'm going to be watching. No, you're not going to have to update this. Sorry, I misspoke. I was looking for the bounce stuff, but on a closing basis, roughly about 6666, because it's technically 6665.75. Just remember 6666. There you go. Mark of the beast. There you go, on the closing basis today. Because, again, if it closed below that, I'll still watch for a potential reconnection with around 66.30, possibly tomorrow. A minor reconnection with 66.47.50. Okay? So you got the close mark of the beast. And then, that 87.5, because that's from the last little swing low, would potentially, again, take us to to reclose the gap fill and the bottom of the rotation zone. Overall, this is a normal pullback so far. Nothing to fret about yet. Now, we might be putting in a more significant topping pattern, which is what we're going to be watching for over the next few days. NASDAQ. The key closing level for the NASDAQ, let me move this out of the way quickly, is 24,536. 24,536 on the NASDAQ is the key closing level I'm watching. If we do close below that, the target prices are 24,438 and 24,340, and we still have the potential re-gap fill. It's already filled once, but of the roll gap closer to the bottom of the rotation zone. However, looking at this, we have on a bounce, we have 24,624 area as the first key level of resistance, and then 24,700 to 24,710. I see fear has not been removed by humans by AI yet. You know, fear mode, let's just touch on that. I mean, we have the VIX rising, was triggered. We covered it yesterday. But this is not a lot of fear. From a very depressed, yes, we have it rising. It triggered. You know, we had the trigger on the 1 hour trigger, which was one hour pattern because it's reversing this move on the 1 hour. triggered and now rising. You know, could we keep spiking up closer to these highs? But this is not major fear mode. This is minor fear mode out of people who've been selling vol. You know, this is sort of scrambling to cover some of the vol selling. But look, even if we play this out, look at the major resistance. Fear mode, let's talk April was fear mode. All right. Let's talk last August was fear mode. This is nothing yet. This is nothing. This is nothing. Pretty orderly sell-off. Rising VIX, but pretty orderly sell-off. By the way, another thing you can pay attention to on these, since this is an orderly sell-off, we had a nice little declining trend line. So overall, now on this bounce, on the bounce when we do get it, I'm going to be, and we'll have to adjust these levels, but I'm going to be paying attention to this trend line and then the 62.5 on any bounce. We don't know where that level is because we don't know if we've put in the pullback lows yet. But that's going to be key. That's going to be my first key level. Then it's potential double top territory. So I'm still watching for longs. They'd be super aggressive today, but I'm going with, especially with PCE tomorrow morning. But I'm still watching for longs for at least bounce plays only, not for necessarily new highs. And if you go back to the S&P, sort of jump around a little, there's the trend line. Initiating point, defining point. The Dow, also back in the rotation zone. There is still technically, if you get a bigger pullback in the Dow, there's still technically an unfilled roll gap that's beyond the rotation zone. Okay. But key support coming in front of that about 46,135 to 46,150. Key resistance area coming in roughly about 46,450 to about 46,500 area. Same difference here. Same difference. I'll have to update. We don't have a new defining point yet. We might get one after the next bar, but I'll be watching this trend line overall. And then this for everything on the bounce, the initial targets for any bounce, again, not necessarily today, but in case you can't tune in tomorrow, and this might happen not even tomorrow, it might happen Monday. We'll see. But my initial targets are going to be, once we get in a low, between the 50 and 62.5. We close above the 62.5, then my target shifts to 75 to 87.5 on any bounce plays. Russell, the good old Russell, confirming and most likely triggering. I mean, it triggered already on the 1 hour, the double. It'll trigger on the 4 hour unless we get something really strange happening because that's the next 42 minutes. Closing in. Remember, I'm mostly watching. We still have a partial gap fill down here, but I'm really paying attention on it. Continued sell off. The first target area is hit. The next target area, 2410, is right at the bottom of the rotation zone. I'm not really focused. It would only be on a spike low for 23.98 if we do get some serious momentum coming in here, because that's also another key candle body. You see the resistance and then the support. So that would be for a spike low, but I'll be watching on the close for the Russell, especially today. Sorry I said especially so many times. We'll see where that closes. Come on, people. Jump in the chat. Jump in the chat. Jump in the chat. Sorry, I had a little too much caffeine this morning. So, watching again the trend line. Then, on the bounce, I'll be watching, again, the 50 to 62.5, not necessarily today. Once we know where the low is. Same thing. I'm trying to teach a structure that we can all learn. to at least learn, all right, because this next reaction is going to be the secondary reaction, and that's what you really need to focus on. Again, VIX we already looked at. You know, even if we spike up, even if we get a more drastic sell-off, 18 is the first key level. The sloppy double top in the 10-year note futures finished the double, hitting the 50. Hitting the 50. The yields. Look at that. The yields pulling back a bit, but finishing the double target. Go, go, gadget yields. Go, go, gadget yields. Back to cycle tops and nearly overbought. So we'll see. Maybe we'll see a top coming in today, tomorrow. If the PC doesn't print really hot tomorrow, maybe there'll be a pullback, but the yield's been climbing, filled out the double. The double is done. If we do continue to push higher, 4.2 is very key. It's where the 50 EMA and the breakdown zone are. So this is a very key profit-taking area for me, and raising then a stop for any trailing. Let's see. Hey, Christoph. Not so quiet for Tesla, though. Oh, I've already talked about Tesla. You got to rewatch the beginning of it, Christoph. Watch the beginning. I'm looking at the contributions to the so-called GDP rise. I expect an end-of-the-year rally, maybe new high, depending on how far the sell-off goes. Well, I'm talking on the bounce move because we could still consolidate or still have downwards pressure through the middle of the October. That's where I watch the next bounce move. And then you have the end-of-year potential. It's a very strong potential rally, but we have to assess the next little bit. So we're still a few weeks off from potential end-of-the-year rally situation. Crude closing above the next target into a key resistance area. We had the percent B buy falling through first target, second target hit, moving on up. Just like the Jeffersons, moving on up. The old good old stop, moving on up to the Upper East Side. I used to live on the Upper East Side. 70th and 1st in New York City. Moving up the good old stop, little pullback in crude against a very key resistance area. Maybe we'll get another rotation back up, but it's definitely moving up the stop because we're into a major resistance area. Even the breakdown zone we nearly hit yesterday. Oops. Why did I do that? There we go. There we go. I assume you mean Costco. No, I haven't, Andrea. Please point me in the right direction. Please point me in the right direction. What's going on with new home builders and title companies? And you would know. Andrea's in the real estate business, and we really appreciate her pointing out anything on the channel we should know about. So if you could point me in the right direction. Again, if you want to email me anything, pathtradingpartners@gmail.com is the best way to do it right now. pathtradingpartners@gmail.com. You can always direct message me on Twitter @mgarnold. Also, you can put it in the chat if you have something to share with everyone. But any information, this channel, everybody is a valued member of this channel. So anything from your area of expertise that you want to contribute, please do. Costco not looking good? We'll take a look at that. Thank you, Andrew. I really appreciate this. We haven't talked about Tesla yet. We'll touch on it again today, Christoph. I already talked about it this morning. Can we look at timber with the stock or the lumber? What's happening with Tesla? I'm not in the options world. Oh, it's just getting juiced. There's so much zero. When there's bad news or Elon wants to raise the stock price because remember the vote comes up. Oh, look at it's up 30% since my potential pay package has been announced, and we've had really bad information in the robotaxi world, which aren't really robotaxis. But let's just juice the stock price with 0-day options. All these money flows into 0-day options that we can't really trace. You know what they should do? Here's what I want done on overall with all stock transactions and option transactions. I'd really like, you want a great use for the blockchain, put it all on the blockchain and make all stock and options transactions transparent. From at least, they can still be done by LLCs, but let's just have the full transparency. Let's have full transparency on all stock and option transactions. Wouldn't that do something interesting to the markets? Wouldn't it? Huh. Wouldn't it? Yes, you might not know who's behind the LLC completely. Sometimes you do. But what would that do? What would that do? Very interesting concept there. Natty Gas actually reversing and bouncing back up after triggering the double top. Still watching for a potential rollover play unless Natty Gas closed back above 3.08. Gold pulling back slightly. Closing below the 4-hour rotation zone, so I need to watch for another potential setup. Again, gold is very overextended and waning momentum, so not aggressive. I'd still like it to pull back further in the daily rotation zone for a setup. Silver spiking higher, right close to the next harmonic. Again, a lot of these metals are getting a little exhaustive. I talked about copper yesterday, and what was the target? Right around 4.94, 4.95. I think I said 4.94. It's a target. I always look at target areas. 4.935 was the high. So definitely be raising stops on this short-term breakout. The double is off the table. That was my key thing to watch for. If we did not break out, we broke out yesterday, hitting the first key level. Dollar index. All right, may close above the 50. That does not mean I'm in super bullish mode. I've told you I'm in minor bullish mode. But now I'm going to watch for these pullbacks on the dollar. All right, we might get the first cross rotation zone again. Now we're headed into the weekly rotation zone, and there's been, look at all the weeks with selling pressure up here. However, if the dollar can really start sustaining something above about 98.50, watch out. Watch out. Christoph Platinum. There's your platinum. Again, platinum broke out. We had a potential, oops, I covered that yesterday too. We have a weekly, oops, wrong one. Might never trigger. You still have a weekly. The only thing that would shift me in the short term is a close if we really pulled back. Otherwise, platinum is still up. On any pullback, though, in platinum, I'm watching about 1455 to about 1465 for key support on any pullback move in platinum. Spiders. Here's the key level I'm watching on a closing basis, 659.17. We're already below that today. 657.55. We're just above that on the gap down open. Key resistance is back at the 659.17 and also right at this close, 659.18. And we have a key low from yesterday, 664.61. So those are the key things on any bounce. If we do close below 659, again, 657 and 655.92. If that would just take us closer to the daily rotation zone, the bottom of the daily rotation zone. The Qs. The key closing level is 591.30. Key resistance on any bounce, 593.62 area, right around the low from yesterday, and we have a key low from September 18th. Just below that, we still on moving down. If we start breaking below 591.30, that's key on the close. But if we start breaking below that intraday, you still have the down open price of 591.10, and then the gap fill of 590 exactly. We closed below 591.30, 588.99, and 586.68, closer to the bottom of the rotation zone. Bitcoin, little bounce yesterday, back to the daily rotation zone and breaking back down. Remember, we've triggered a massive topping pattern. Just break it back down. Ethereum, double was not triggered, but we were watching again to see if this low is broken. It's going to be real interesting today where Ethereum closes. Going to be real interesting. And then we have the hooking over 50 and the rotation zone above. So can't get bullish on crypto yet. Tesla, little gap down today. Just to recap, we still have the 87.5 rule, and Elon has not again regained the richest man in the world title, which either requires a decent sell-off in Oracle or to keep juicing the Tesla price higher. That's why I cannot get short Tesla yet. Okay? I mean, even in the negative markets yesterday, Tesla, nice rotation back up. That's enough said. NVIDIA still caught in consolidation. Again, you still have a couple gaps. If it does break down back below the 50 and we have more pressure, we have still a gap fill from back on Wednesday the 17th. Broadcom, I'm actually watching. If we have a gap down yesterday, if we get some kind of strong rally today, I'm paying attention to yesterday's high because that would be a %B buy. We are currently trading below the rotation zone. We could regain it. That's very interesting for me on a closing basis because if we start closing below the rotation zone, I will shift more to a potential gap fill. Costco, remember Costco earnings today? Costco earnings, what does this look like longer term? We do still have a potential weekly double top. It could be getting close to invalidation point. I have to count this off. Maybe it is invalidated at this point. Costco, though, really starting to wind down again. Costco. P to E ratio of 53. Way fundamentally overdone. I am not looking for any strong buys in Costco. If it does gap up on stronger earnings, I'm watching, again, the 200 area. But I'll still watch for rollover plays in Costco for the time being. Lumber, for you, Charles, we can look at lumber. Here you go. Now, is this, I have not looked at, I know it was breaking down, have not looked at it in forever. Have not looked at it in forever. I knew it was breaking down, but not been paying close attention to lumber. And that's not a double top, by the way. Not a double top. So, what are the key levels to watch in lumber? It closed still above the 62.5 and bounced. Now, again, it bounced in here, triggered a weekly %B buy. If it does continue to bounce, 600 is the key target. We start breaking back below about 567, would then watch to retest support. But no double, so I got to go just solely off the harmonics. What would it take for me to, on this bounce play? Again, I do not have any position in lumber. What would it take for me to be sustained bullish off this little %B buy? it would need to get above 630 on a closing basis. Other than that, if we do get above 600, the major rollover zone again is 608 to 630. So if I were in this position and we did, my first target would be 600. And then if we continued higher, 600 to 630 would be where I'd be more aggressively raising a stop and looking for daily topping patterns. If it continued and closed above 630, then I'd raise my targets. If we roll over and start closing back below this key area, again, the bounce would be over for me, and I look for a retest of especially the 535 area. We close back below 534. I'd be looking for continued pullbacks in lumber. What's interesting is we had the pullback in lumber. You got a lot of waiting home demand, except, I mean, you had new home sales in August beating expectations. But is lumber also climbing on potential inflationary in commodities? That's the key question from a fundamental standpoint. Now, on the daily, let's shift to the daily and refine our analysis. What do we potentially have on the daily? This is a gap roll, by the way. What do we have? So, if I'm going to refine my thing. If we close, now this is where it's key. So, if we now come back down and close below 559.5, it triggers a potential double top. If this triggers before it's invalidated, a potential double top, and this is a completely valid and could fill the gap. So that's the bearish setup to watch for if we continue the bearish trend. So that would be a great stop location at worst for the percent B buy. Because would I want to be still long if we triggered this daily reversal pattern? No, I would not. All right. Well, there you go. A lot of lumber companies. So there's your bullish and bearish case. We are still in short-term bullish bounce mode. The key is 559.5. All right. This is, I don't care if you trade lumber. Did you watch how we went through this analysis? By the way, that percent B buy also was what? Percent B buy was what? Also a double bottom set up. And we've reached the full target there. This is how you dissect a market. Start with the longer time frames and then go to the shorter time frames and come up with both your bullish and bearish cases. And then you structure the trades and the stops. I hope that makes sense. Now let's jump back to. Let's jump back. All right, hit the 75% harmonic into some key areas. Again, if we continue lower today, 666.30. All right, let's just peek a little look at the NASDAQ. Down below the 62.5. What's the next key little price here? Well, we still have this key close back from the 17th. So that's the first thing I'll be watching is 24,465. 25 to be exact. And then 24,438.25. Hope this was helpful. Hope everyone has a wonderful, wonderful trading day. And I shall talk to everyone. Remember, PCE tomorrow morning. Costco earnings after close and PCE tomorrow morning. Have a wonderful day. Bye for now.